Good morning, it's April 21st. This is to my liberal friends. The House Republicans are battling over the big, beautiful bill that President Trump wants passed. And it's caused some divisions within the caucus that have broken out into the open. This huge bill that was passed out of the House Budget Committee in a rare Sunday night meeting after GOP spending hawks reached behind the scenes agreements with Republican leaders should reduce subsidies for clean energy and accelerate the date when work requirements for Medicaid beneficiaries take hold. Nothing was set in stone, and the fate of the legislation hinged on how leaders balanced concessions to the right flank of the party with the more moderate members. There remain several points of contention that will have to be ironed out before the bill can be brought to the House floor. With a slim majority held by Republican Speaker Mike Johnson, he has to be sure he has the votes to pass the bill. And those votes will have to come from Republicans because not a single Democrat is going to vote in favor of passing the bill. One point that's unsolved is a proposal by blue state Republicans to raise the state and local tax deduction. In the 2017 bill, this was capped at $10,000 and was not indexed, so that numbers remained static since then. That was probably a mistake. The bill contains language that will up that total to $40,000, with beginning to phase out for taxpayers exceeding $500,000 in net taxable income. And that marks an increase from the $30,000 cap with $4,000 income currently in the bill, a provision that SALT caucus members vehemently rejected. The House Rules Committee is scheduled to convene at Wednesday during the panel to consider changes to the bill. While several members of the SALT caucus are supportive of the plan, according to sources, Johnson will need to sell that proposal to hardline conservatives, including many in the House Freedom Caucus, who've been resistant to significant height to the deduction cap. Exiting a meeting with the Speaker's office Tuesday night, members of the SALT caucus said they did not yet have a firm deal, but signaled significant progress. The SALT caucus had demanded originally the cap be increased to $64,000 for single filers and $124,000 for joint filers. That forced President Trump to travel to Capitol Hill to engage in negotiations. He made some veiled threats at the holdouts who would prevent the legislation from passing from the House. Trump pushed moderate Republicans from blue states to give up their fight over the SALT deduction while warning members not to using an F-bomb with Medicaid as some lawmakers eye changes to the program. Now, I'm not sure why they're fighting on this because some tax data caused some confusion about why it's so important to them. In the last tax data we have from tax filers, about 90% of these filing used a short form. They took the standard deduction in lieu of using a Schedule A to list their deductions. The current bill increases that standard deduction to $32,000 for joint filers. That means a few more people begin to use a short form and avail themselves of standard deduction. Only the less than 10% of filers will take advantage of a higher SALT cap on a Schedule A. Are these Republicans willing to die on the Hill for wealthy filers just to score some political point? I'm thinking they're not, because we get reports overnight that some deal has been struck, and we're going to see the details later this morning. The second major point that's causing problems within the caucus is the Medicaid program. Most Republicans are supportive of a work requirement for able-bodied people who are on Medicaid. The issue is when such a requirement will start. The current language in the bill calls for work requirements to commence in 2029. That's too long for many within the caucus. Negotiations that are ongoing will probably move that start date to 2027. And Democrats have pounced on this issue and made it a major talking point. They claim any cut to Medicaid, even a work requirement, will harm the people who are on the program. Republicans have countered with proposals to check waste and fraud within the Medicaid program. They're also proposing increased frequency of eligibility checks along with work requirements. Look, there's no doubt that states have allowed illegal immigrants to be enrolled in Medicaid programs, and they're fueling this burgeoning cost. California is a classic example. And I'm going to be honest, we all know why Democrats are making this fight the way they are. They want people to stay on these government programs because then they say, if you vote for me, I will keep the funds coming for your program. And I bet everyone listening knows somebody who is gaming the system for both Medicaid and probably food stamps. They learn to work under the table. They learn to keep their income below what it should be. For elderly people, they move all their assets into a family trust, putting their parents on Medicaid. It costs the taxpayers money, and Democrats know that if they promise to keep that program where it doesn't hurt you, then you're going to keep voting for them. Well, there are ways. There is fraud, and we need to get rid of it. We need to tighten the requirements, and I'm all for that. And I hope that you would look at that as well. And it's been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening.